All right. I think this Kobe slander has gotten like quite out of control. And I'm not here to settle any debates or really even refute any points outside of the fact that I believe fervently, unequivocally, that if Kobe Bryant were still alive today, that a lot of these people wouldn't be talking as crazy as they're talking right now. And although I just realized that I have a mob mentality book standing over top of my shoulder here. Let's get to the Tracy McGrady bit of it. And we'll cover Gilbert Arenas too. So Tracy McGrady was on First Take, I believe it was last week, saying that because they had this whole ring culture narrative going that he was not subjected to the same amount of roster construction and some of the benefits that Kobe got with being able to play along Shaq and then being able to play along Pau Gasol. And while Tracy McGrady has a very valid point that while his time in Orlando was not the most fruitful, especially when it comes to playoff wins, getting to conference championships and winning an NBA title alongside of his tenure in Houston as well. I still think, and you're talking to somebody who was born and raised in Orlando, who I watched Kobe from getting drafted out of high school by the Charlotte Hornets, or yeah, the Charlotte Hornets, then getting traded to the Lakers. Watched his growing pains through his first couple of championships, and his first couple seasons in the NBA. And I watched Tracy McGrady get drafted out of Auburndale High School, go to the Toronto Raptors, and leave and go to the Orlando Magic to blaze his own path away from his cousin Vince Carter. I think it's asinine to at this point looking back with a clear view of how both careers played out. And I get it, injuries play a huge part in this. But while we shouldn't diminish Tracy McGrady's greatness whatsoever, because Tracy McGrady was my all time favorite player that I got to watch with my actual eyes play in person that I had ever seen. For me, it was always Tracy McGrady, then it was Kobe, and then I have like kind of player favorites, and then LeBron. Then I have like kind of player favorites like watching Blake Griffin play in person. Blake Griffin is probably my personal like favorite player outside of that trio, more of a newer or I guess later generation of those guys. You know, Blake Griffin was playing plenty of years against Kobe Bryant as well. But this is about Kobe versus T Mac. And while T Mac had the scoring titles. I believe he was 7-time All Star, 7-time first team NBA. Kobe basically had double those numbers, as well as making first team All NBA, I think nearly for a decade out of his career as well. And Tracy McGrady had no first team All NBAs. Tracy McGrady also never had any MVPs. And Kobe has an MVP to his resume as well. And I think to take that to a further step, Kobe has Olympic medals, and Tracy McGrady has no Olympic medals. And then you even look at guys like Vince Carter and Kevin Garnett, and guys that came up in the Tracy McGrady era that all kind of have those accolades where Tracy McGrady doesn't. And so I just think it's crazy to that guys like Tracy McGrady and Gilbert are making these claims and accusations that maybe Kobe wasn't quite as good and accomplished as he was with Kobe no longer being here to defend himself. And again, I'm not necessarily here to defend Kobe, but it just more refute the fact or just make a standpoint that it's crazy that these guys are talking about Kobe and he's not here to back himself. And it's like a lot of people in the media aren't doing it for him. And again, I got to watch these guys actually play in person. I watched their whole careers play out from getting drafted to all of them retiring. And personally, if you had to ask me, like, and you even go with the off the court intangibles. We all know it's well documented watching what Kobe Bryant did to perfect his craft from top to bottom, offensively, defensively, conditioning wise, to be the best possible player that he could be. Honestly, like I try to consume as much basketball content as I can, but especially, 2005 to probably 2016, 2017, during the kind of the peak of those guys' careers. I don't remember about hearing any of Tracy McGrady's offseason programs and what he was doing to stay in shape and work on his game. I know he did it, but he wasn't working with Hakeem Olajuwon and uh, uh, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Larry Bird and things of that nature to better his game, at least not than anything that I've seen thus far to today. So I guess to just wrap this up, I get the whole ring culture thing as a narrative, and LeBron is the one kind of leading the charge that we shouldn't diminish a lot of these players who haven't won a championship's greatness because they don't have a ring. But to say that Kobe's career was not what it was, and Kobe's not a one thing I know for sure is that Tracy McGrady has never been mentioned as a top 10 player of all time. Tracy McGrady has been never mentioned as a top 20 player of all time. And I think for everybody, I don't know anybody who has Kobe outside of their top 10. And a lot of people have them in the top five. A lot of people have them in the top three. No matter how you want to mix and match those things, flat out, simply put, T Mac is not on Kobe's level. And I think championships aside, I think even if Kobe only has the 2 or 3 championships with Shaq, that either with 3 championships with Shaq, I still think Kobe goes down as a better all-time player than what Tracy McGrady ended up being. And I get it. A lot of that was because of Tracy McGrady's back spasms and back issues, and that really limited and stymied his career, very similar to like Penny Hardaway. But I even look what Dwight Howard was able to do at his peak, being a driving force of getting the Orlando Magic to the finals and actually having a chance to win a championship if Stan Van Gundy doesn't. I think if Stan Van Gundy continues to ride the wave of Rayford Alston, Skip to my Lou instead of going back to Jameer Nelson, I think the Magic pull out that championship and actually take down the Kobe Pau Gasol Lakers, which is another point that not a lot of people talk about. That or Dwight Howard was able to take that same franchise and get that same prime Kobe and Pau Gasol and take them to the brink and have a championship to have an opportunity to win a championship. So I think those facts all kind of stand on their own. And let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you think T Mac is truly on Kobe level, or is he on a tier below him?